Hey everybody, Brimstone here. Today I'm bringing you the season 14, episode 9, King of the Hill revival review. And this is probably the most important episode in the whole series in terms of character growth and progression and everything we see in the series going forward. And hopefully we get a season 15. I'll be doing a video on that in the coming days. But this is a very prolific episode, a very important episode, probably the most important in the whole series, like I said. And if you are liking what you're hearing or enjoy this review, hit the like. If you don't, hit the dislike button. Subscribe if you want to see more. Turn on the notifications. I drop videos daily about low-key stuff you normally don't see on the bigger channels. And yeah, so this episode starts off with a cotton. Actually, it starts off with Junichiro, Hank's half Japanese brother, Good Hank, his other half brother, and Hank in a lawyer's office about a lawsuit of settling the Shin Jelly. They are all get $5,000 to settle among the people in the complaints. The Shin Jelly was not Shin Jelly. Apparently, it was designed to regrow shins, but it didn't. And there is Good Hank. Good Hank is a moody teenager. You're not sure of his exact age, but he is definitely a moody teenager. And Hank doesn't bond well with people. He likes the way his life is. He doesn't really bring in new people. And he goes to leave, and, you know, Dee Dee, Cotton's ex-wife, is trying to get Hank to help her take GH for the summer. Good Hank. And he's very hesitant against it, but he ends up doing it. While all this is happening, Peggy is trying to reconnect with Bobby, and she just can't. Bobby's works 14-hour days, and it's not that he doesn't want to spend time with his mom, but he just literally doesn't have the time to spend time with his mom. He works so much at the restaurant. It's his passion at what he loves. And Peggy is playing pickleball with Nancy and Min and gets hurt and needs to go to Dallas for an MRI, which she's all excited for because that means she gets to spend time with Bobby. But when she goes in for the MRI, she has a panic attack and has to withdraw. And over the course of the episode, she tries several times to get the panic attacks under control, but it doesn't happen. So she is staying while this is happening. She's staying with Bobby and doing that. Now back to Hank and Good Hank. Good Hank is, well, a teenager. He sits alone in his room watching all sorts of stuff. And then he comes across an Andrew Tate-like character called Man-Made. It is Elijah something. I really can't remember. He was a rather unforgettable character, unremarkable character, actually. Sorry, messed up the wording there. And he wants to use his $1,000 from the settlement money to go to this, but he can't without an adult there, and because he's under 18. And he goes, and it's horrible. Like, they were doing all the physical stuff, which Hank was really into, you know, exercise, stuff like that, fighting off the bad things. But when they do a group session and sit down, they all just start ripping into women. And Hank is like, this is wrong, you know, and GH goes off on Hank in a big way, like a Cotton level go off. And it shifts into Cotton. And he's in a car, and Hank's a teenager, and Cotton is ripping into him like he used to. And you actually get to see something you don't get to see. You get to see a younger Hank actually crying from Cotton ripping into him. And then it flashes back to the modern day, and Hank is just shocked that GH is doing this much because GH was just a baby when Cotton was there. He doesn't even remember his dad. But Hank sees so much Cotton in him, it's disturbing. So they shift to that. And, let's get back to Peggy and Bobby are doing their thing. And they're trying to connect, and they do, and they reconnect. They do a pencil fights and stuff like that. And she just is kicking their ass, and it's a blast. And the next day, she goes in for her MRI, and she has another panic attack. So they have to take her back to Bobby's apartment and settle down. And Bobby's really behind on some food festival that he's taking part in, and proceeds in trying to cook. And he's gets a text message and he's like, oh crap, I missed my fish guy's call again. And as he's looking over his text message, he sees his mother kept trying to get in touch with him, calling him nonstop and everything. And then it realizes that he's not spending enough time with his mom. And this is really upsetting to him. So the next day he goes back in to the hospital and takes her, and she goes into the MRI and she's about to go into the machine and it stops, and her doctor says, hey, there's somebody here. And he's like, hey mom, this stuff and stuff like that. And then she relaxes and goes into the MRI, little security, because apparently her panic attacks were psychosomatic. She was causing them herself. So the doctor, while she's in the MRI, looks at her and she's like, it's very smart of you that you picked that up. And this is one of my favorite little nods to the previous series, is like, well, she's got a little odd scar tissue around her crotch that looks like it was done by a 12-year-old. And Bobby just goes, haha, you can tell it was 12 years ago. And that's where that story arc ends, with Peggy and Bobby reconnecting and learning that Bobby needs to make time to spend with his mom. Maybe his mom needs to lay off him a little bit because he is a grown adult. He's 21. So that's the end of that. And I thought that was really sweet, especially the whole callback to that's my purse, I don't know you. So Hank and GH are going through it, and GH is completely into this man-made stuff until Hank does what Hank does best. He deals with the situation. He called Dale to do research on somebody. And we all know if you stick Dale on somebody, you're going to get everything. So he goes in and he's like, he's not what he says he is. He is backed by a woman. His mother backs this, and his mother comes in, the Elijah guy who's running the man-made stuff, and is like, hey, his mom's like, hey, you need to change these policies. This is not good. And everybody that was there sees this, and he cowers, and they all check out and walk away from this man-made thing, which is fantastic. Even GH does. And he says something on the way out, which is absolutely hilarious, because, they did a really big step here to get them to realize that, GH like has a girl that he likes and he got friend zoned, and they're all like, oh no, you can't do that. No friend zone. Just do her friends, do this, do that. And Hank's just like, hey, she's letting you in. Maybe she doesn't want a relationship right now, stuff like that, but she still wants to be around you. She still wants to spend time with you, which is far more important. And it leaves you with the in that you need later. So they're going through this. They leave, and he's like, yeah, man, that was great. We should do something nice for our bitches. And then Hank's like, yeah, we really have to, do something about that later. So at the end of the episode, GH's Dee Dee pulls up, and the guys are sitting in front of a really beat up car. And she goes, what the hell is this piece of crap? And Hank tells Dee Dee that this is the car that GH can come over and work on anytime he wants with me. And, we can do stuff together. We will rebuild this car. And by the time he's ready to drive, we will have a car, kind of like what he tried to do with Bobby when he took Auto Shop. And GH walks out and looks up at Hank and goes, thanks, big bro. And Hank looks at him and goes, yeah, call me Hank. And they shake hands, which really makes Hank happy. And then Dee Dee and everything drive away. But this is very, very important. This little line at the end of the episode is very, very important. It flashes back to when GH was born. And the episodes of GH was born were some of the good stuff. But he's holding Cotton is holding GH, and he looks at him. He's like, well, I can't have you turn out like your older brother, and hands him to Hank. And Hank is holding GH, and he just looks at him and smiles. And it flashes back to modern day, the current era. And as they drive away, he says, too bad, old man. Now, this is a very important thing. Hank was always respected his father and did what he had to do because he was a good son. But I don't think he liked Cotton very much. But he did the right thing because that's his dad. And by doing this, he's telling off Cotton. He's like, you didn't get your way in the end. He is better than me, and he's better than you. And I am better than you too. And this is a very, very important thing that happened in the series, and it's one of my personal things I favorite. This is what makes the episode so important, is that Hank finally overcame one of the last things that he had big issues with, and that was his father. And he's doing it by spending time and helping GH be the man that he knows he can be. So that's it for episode 9 review. Episode 10 will come soon. Thank you so much for watching. If you did make it this far, hit that like button. If you didn't like it, don't hit it. Hit the dislike. If you want to see more, hit the sub, turn on the notifications, and more importantly, leave a comment below. I'm always happy to hear them. Thank you so much for watching. I have a great day.